this week's edition of Navigate Your Wealth, brought to you by Compass Financial. I'm Rebecca Powers. So happy to be your host this week with Karen Stawicki and Samantha Irish. Great to see you in this beautiful week.
Thank you so much.
Great to be back here with you again, Rebecca.
You always teach us, I know me personally, so much, and so many of our viewers at home who write in. Let's talk about the power of three. You touched on that, but I really want to unbundle that and explain the power of three.
I think the most important thing about the power of three is how and why it came about. You know, the power of three came about because for so many years I was doing things the way I was doing them, and they worked until they didn't. And when they didn't work, because market volatility or interest rate risk or whatever, I had to go back to the drawing board and figure out what it was exactly going to take to create that successful retirement. We call it the power of three for a reason. I'm going to tell a little story first. And I first told this story to somebody who was 100% in the market. And I said, look, you are all in the market. And you know what? You've made great returns. You've had great success with it. You're still in the accumulation phase. And in the accumulation phase, there's less risk than in the distribution because, hey, if the market goes down, it's on sale, you're buying more shares with the same dollar than if the market were going up. So I said, here you are. I want you to think about yourself on a unicycle. You're riding that unicycle, you're 35 years old, and you look good. Now, you hit a pothole. Guess what happens to a 35-year-old when they hit a pothole?
They jump back up.
They fall off, but they
little
jump.
jerk, yes, you do.
Yes, right? So they fall off, they jump on, and they keep riding, okay? What happens to that same scenario when you're 60 or 65?
We're not getting up.
Well, first of all, I'm not sure I could maneuver a unicycle, but let's just pretend for a half a second that I'm on this unicycle. I'm all in the market, that's the only place my investments are. If I hit that pothole, it's ugly.
It's ugly.
It is ugly. So we came up with the idea that if we could put 2 more wheels under your bottom to create a safer ride, i.e. a tricycle, that you now could ride confidently into retirement without fear that if you did hit a pothole, that it was going to be ugly. And that was the creation of the power of three.
And the reason that we call it the power of three is because it's really made up of 3 elements.
Okay.
The first is liquidity, and we utilize cash value life insurance as this type of solution for liquidity. The second part comes from guaranteed income. We always say your guaranteed expenses should be covered by guaranteed income, and guaranteed income annuities are typically the solution for that. And then the third piece is invested assets, having your dollars in the market. Listen, the place you're going to get the greatest growth is always going to be in the market.
It is.
But you've got to give it time, because if you're in a situation like today, the market may not be your friend.
Yes.
But when you have the presence of cash value life insurance and liquidity and guaranteed income annuities giving you that income every day consistently, then you have permission to remain in the market as if you're 30 years old again.
Well, you can take the risk and be rewarded for the risk that you're taking. And I tell my clients in the power of three model, their assets are all allocated between those 3. Now, you've got income covering your guaranteed expenses every single month. And part of that guaranteed income bucket may be from a pension, may be from Social Security, and the gap is usually made up with guaranteed income annuities. We don't want to have a systematic withdrawal that should work. We have to have the guaranteed income. So we have that covered. Now, the other 2 pieces, the life insurance that provides the liquidity, the protection, the access, and then the assets under management, which gives you the growth opportunity. Let's pretend for half a minute that you've planned a great trip with your family. It's going to cost $50,000. You've got it booked. You're all ready to go. The market has been doing wonderfully, and you all of a sudden get the bill. You have to pay for this. Well, then the market all of a sudden decides to do what it's done the last 6 months.
Right.
And you're saying, oh my gosh, cancel the trip. We can't go. No, that's where the cash value life insurance comes in. Because there is no market risk in a life insurance policy.
It's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed. There's no correlation to the market at all. You cannot go backwards. So now we access the money from the life insurance and we allow the asset to come back because, listen, over time, given enough time, the stock market's going to come back.
It will come back.
Take the trip, make the memories, take the photos, have a ball, come back, tell us all about it, and in time, when the market comes back, we'll liquidate the the investments, throw the money back in the life insurance, because if you remember from previous episodes, the advantage of life insurance is it's the bank of you. You can take money out, you can put money back.
That's amazing.
And so the power of three became a way to help our clients put their head on their pillow at night, knowing that their income needs were met, their liquidity needs were met, and that they were going to be able to keep pace with inflation, because at the end of the day, the market performance over time is the only thing that can successfully help them do that. So they can put their head on their pillow, wake up in the morning, and not worry about a thing.
And risk is one of the complimentary reports that you do. Let's talk about that analysis.
You know, we believe that the reason that the power of three is so successful is because it eliminates so many risks that retirees face. You know, longevity risk, the risk of the market, all of those pieces are eliminated when we take the time to have the dollar do one task. Remember, we had this conversation before that your money has job descriptions.
I love
when
that.
you ask your money to do too many things, it can't do any of its jobs very well. So to eliminate the risks that our clients experience, we give their dollar a job. Some of the jobs are to provide income. Some of the jobs are to create liquidity. And the other job is to grow so that you have the ability to keep pace with inflation and not worry about where, you know, the market will be in the future.
What about the red zone? I've heard you talk about retirement red zone. What does that mean, and when is that?
Well, you know what? The retirement red zone is the 5 years before retirement and the 5 years after. That's actually the most dangerous part of retirement. People say you need to change the asset allocation, you know, the older you get as you get into retirement. Really, the riskiest 10 years is the 5 years before and the 5 years after. And I love using analogies, and the analogy that I use for this one is you have worked your whole life. You've been in that baseball game, you've been going around the bases, and you are now standing on third looking at home. You can taste it. You're that close to retirement. This is not the time to play chicken with the third baseman and the catcher.
Gotcha.
Like, we got to make sure you can cross that finish line successfully and get to the destination that you're trying to get to.
Why is it the 5 years before and the 5 year after? Why that pivotal time?
Well, let me use another example. In 2003, the market finally started to recover from the first 3 years of the, 2000, 2001, 2002. So now your money was starting to come back. If you had set your goal to retire in December of 2007, and you had a bag of money, and you decided, okay, I'm going to retire now, what happened in 2008?
The worst correction or crash or whatever is the...
That's right. That's right. And so really, now you have, in fact, we have a story about that, the gentleman from AT&T. So he came into me with $2 million. Well, let me back that up. He had $2 million. When he retired from AT&T, he had $2 million. And in 2008, he lost almost half of that. That's when he came to me and said, I have to go back to work. I can't stay retired now. My $2 million is just slightly over $1 million. What am I going to do? And in helping him understand that because he stayed in the game and took that risk, sequence of returns, nobody knows when the negative year is going to come.
Gotcha.
We don't have that crystal ball to know. And so we want to take those elements, those risks off the table so that you don't have to worry. Here's the deal. If you've got money in the market, that's not a bad thing. But if you need that money in the next 12 to 18 months and the market goes down,
that's a bad thing.
it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
And it's a bad thing to take it out too soon because you mess up the compounding interest. Let's talk about
Absolutely.
that.
Well, and we're going to talk about it, but we want to talk with you about it. So do us a favor and pick up the phone right now and call the number on your screen, 855-348-3073. If you are worried that you may expose your retirement to any of the risks that we've discussed today, we want to help you. We want to run that risk analysis for you, build out your retirement roadmap so that we can make sure that you can retire confidently.
Absolutely. Stay with us. Call that number like Sam said. We'll be right back.